Hello and welcome back, everyone. It's just another day in the life as a military wife. And this week, I have a special guest with me, and we are going to be spilling the tea on our thoughts in regards to the Army's 250th birthday celebrations, what we thought about those celebrations in general, and just how the military likes to party. So join me as Erika from Erika and Raft and I talk about the Army's 250th birthday. As always, I am your host, Sam Wolf, and you're listening to Life of a Military Wife. So I want to talk about the Army's 250th birthday, but I figured this would be a lot more entertaining for all y'all if I wasn't just talking to myself and y'all were listening. So Erica's here to have a conversation. We're going to just spill the tea, share our perspectives and have fun with this. So, Erica, why don't you really quickly remind everyone what you do, what you got going, and yeah.
Well, my name's Erika, and we are technically expats. We're in Germany, and my husband works for the Army as a civilian now. He's former active duty Air Force. We did active duty life for 13 and a half years, stationed in Japan and Germany, Georgia for 5 years. We've spent most of his DoD career overseas. So, yeah, it's been a very thrilling life. Lots of ups and downs. It's been a roller coaster. It's been great.
Yeah, that's pretty typical of military life is everyone's experience is different, but it's always a roller coaster. It's not
Yeah.
when the wheels are gonna go off the bus. Not if, it's when. Like everything's gonna go crazy. With the whole Army 200 and I can say numbers, I promise people. 250th birthday celebrations. I was super excited. I think a lot of people who are outside of the military community don't know what we do to celebrate. What are some things you guys have done for Air Force birthdays or things like that in the past?
So for Air Force, we're pretty simple people. We usually just have a big Air Force ball, and those are fun. You get dressed up. There's a banquet. There's honorable mentions, usually a speech. There's a cake cutting ceremony, and then you just party all night, which that's
Yeah.
where it gets really interesting. Is when the dance party starts. And that's pretty
Yeah.
much been our experience. Mostly is just the balls, and it is a ball. There's a formal invitation, you formally RSVP. It's like being invited to a wedding, but it's like black tie. You have to dress up, and your active duty members are in their mess dress, which is a different uniform. It's like the tuxedo version of the uniform, which is just stunning, by the way. My
Oh,
husband wore a
heck
mess
yeah.
dress when we got married, um, and I love the mess dress for all the branches. They've got some gorgeous uniforms,
Oh, yeah.
and
I
it's just a lot of
yeah,
fun.
gosh, a guy in their dress uniform. Oh yeah. That's a good look.
Yeah.
But so Army, we do balls too, but we'll also my husband hates these. They usually do a 5K because we're Army. So we have
Oh,
to prove
okay.
they have, do you
Right.
guys
Army
do the
strong.
Air Force do like runs too or like the
Not that I recall or remember. Then again, the squadrons that my husband's always been assigned to are IT. And it's the
aha.
chair force. So, no, I can't really, maybe there were other squadrons that maybe like security forces. I could kind of see maybe doing
Yeah.
stuff like that. But my husband's career field and the units he was always tied to, I don't remember any of that.
No, yeah, I guess because different branches will celebrate differently. So the army is obsessed with tradition. And military is in general, but
Yeah.
like we have the 5K, which is the mandatory. Oh my gosh, my husband loves it when he can get out of the 5K, the army birthday 5K. They usually have like a fitness competition. So like, and my husband has been voluntold for those before. Because
Yeah.
my husband is IT slash aviation. And so he's also in he's not a normal like infantry, let's go running for fun kind of guy.
Right. Yeah.
So those have not been his favorite things. And then the army always like pulls out like tanks and stuff for the kids to climb all over and things like that. Those are things my kids love, like climbing through the helicopters and all of that
Mhm.
sort of stuff. Do you guys do grogs at the
Oh, so the Air Force has dining outs, and they're very, very rare. So my husband, when we were stationed at Kadena in Okinawa, his squadron had a birthday party for the squadron. It was the squadron's anniversary, and they had a dining out, and they did the whole grog thing. And oh my gosh, I will. That evening is seared into my head for the rest of my life. It was so much fun, and it was so hilarious. I had never in my life attended anything like that, where you had all these rules to I don't know if this is the same for the
Oh,
army, but for
yes.
us, we were given a card and all the rules were laid out. So it's like a game. You're basically at a sit down banquet. And if you don't follow these rules of etiquette, and let's say your friend next to you or coworker notices you're not doing a certain thing on the card that's got listed. So, for example, if it could be something stupid. Let's say you picked up the wrong fork or spoon for the wrong thing, and you're anyone in the room could call you out. And then you go up to the front to the commander and I guess the upper staff of the squadron, and you report in. And they had this like whole report in a spiel they had to say, and then you could pick either the alcoholic grog if you were over 21. If you were under 21, you had to choose the non-alcoholic, and that was freaking disgusting. Like, I saw them set this thing up, and it was just a mix of random juices. They put spaghetti in there. They took a
Oh,
Snickers
yeah.
bar and
Yep.
half melted it, and like and understand,
Mhm.
the maintenance guys of the squadron brought in brand new toilets and
Oh,
set
yeah.
up toilets for the girls. It was just like, oh, it was unreal. I've never in my life. It was so much fun though. Um, yeah.
So, grog from Air Force to Army. So I know about that because I've had lots of friends and family who've been Air Force. Army, we do grog at everything, but the grog
Oh,
is not a punishment, it's mandatory.
oh,
Everyone.
geez.
And we're non-alcoholic, my husband and I. We don't drink because of our religious beliefs. And so my whole thing was like,
Mm,
I'm not doing the grog. And they're like, no, 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 no. We know who the religious people who can't drink alcohol. And we know who the pregnant women are and the people who are under. You can exempt because sometimes they'll make a non-alcoholic grog, but sometimes they won't. And for the one we were going to, they weren't making a non-alcoholic. But my
oh,
husband, because he's Cav, they did a Stetson break-in, and they do a grog in your Stetson in front of you. And but so the way the army does is they actually make the grog in front of you. So each part of the unit, so like each like company and each
mm,
has to bring in like some ingredient to like make it up. By the end, this thing is so much alcohol. I swear, there should be no lidded flames. Like you would have a like blue bonfire if this thing it was so much alcohol. Like they were putting vodka in and schnapps and all
yeah.
sorts of crazy stuff. And they have like the whole story they tell while they like pour everything in. And my husband are like, I'm so glad we don't drink
Yeah.
because and then everybody has to go have a cup. And so everybody, everybody who is not non-alcoholic like us, everybody is tipsy. Like everybody is tipsy up
Oh,
the wazoo.
we had
And
one girl
so,
that we had one girl that got so drunk. She went up and she was like this.
oh my
She was
gosh.
literally going back and forth trying to do her reporting statement, and I felt so sorry for her, and finally got to the point where the commander was like, "Okay, no more. Please stop."
Stop picking on her.
Basically task stop picking on her, like, she's done, and then by the very end of the, dining out, he made an announcement, "Could someone please make sure she gets home safe?" And she's not driving.
Yeah. No, so my husband had a lot of single soldiers under his leadership when we went to that ball, and we were close to some of them, like actually really rather close. Specifically, one of them, he would come and play board games with us and our kids every now and then because he wasn't directly underneath my husband, but he was in the same office.
Yeah.
And he was just a sweet little Catholic boy who's like, I don't really want to go to the clubs. And so he would come hang out with the boring married old people and play with our kids. I love him to this day. He's an honorary
Oh,
member of our family. But anyway, at one point, I see all of them giggling behind my husband and like pointing at each other. And then they're like shoving this one guy. And I'm like, what is going on? And this one kid who didn't know me very well comes up and starts hitting on me. My husband is talking to someone else and he's slobbering drunk, totally hitting on me with his sergeant standing right there. And I know this
oh,
kid is drunk and I know these kids who, because I was their SFRG leader, so I was their family
mhm.
readiness leader. And so he's slobbering drunk, hitting on me. I'm sitting there going,
Oh
"Okay,
my
go
gosh.
back to your friends now." Like I just totally dismissed it. I'm like, "Y'all, don't do that to him. He doesn't know what he's doing." Like, but yeah, that's oh my gosh, that's just how the military is. We have these traditions, we have these things we do, and we're so into drill and ceremony and
Yep.
celebrations and all the pageantry. And so
Mhm.
when I found out about the celebrations that were happening, I was so excited because it was an opportunity for people to see what we do all the time in the military. Like we do these sorts of things all the time. We have
Mhm.
parades. But that's just part of being in the military. It's the pageantry, it's the
Yes.
ceremony, it's all of that. And when I was looking at all this stuff, I'm like, oh, they're gonna make. I was showing my husband the schedule. I sent it to him because he was away. I'm like, they're
Mm-mm.
gonna make him do a 5K and they're televising it. He's like, I am so glad I'm not at that duty station. It was Arlington.
Yeah,
And I
I
was
saw
just
some
like,
of the competitions, and with the, different unit. I was kinda rooting for the
mm-hmm.
cyber guys there, and then they just kinda disappeared. I'm like, "What happened to the cyber guy?" All of a sudden,
They
it was
did.
I'm like, "Did they just give up? Like, where'd they go?"
I think I wasn't it was hard to tell. It wasn't until the award ceremony later on that you were able to get a clear picture of how people had ranked. And then
Mhm.
what I found out was some of the units had more than one team qualify. So like of course the
Oh,
Rangers had like two or three teams, but the Cyber only had one team qualify
of course, 'cause
because
sorry,
they're the
my
Cyber
husband's in
guys.
IT, so, like, we're in we'd be in the cyber world.
Oh
Those
yeah.
poor cyber guys. We always get picked on.
Yeah, but it was just really fun to, like, watch them well, and then because when we first started watching, we didn't miss the first part, and so then they went back and had some of the new teams going, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, they have to hold that while somebody does a bicycle." I'm like, "Whoever came up with this had a sense of humor because 'cause they're, like,
It was
sitting
like
there on those little,
300
like, workout
pounds.
bikes and
Like
oh, yeah,
3
with those
oh, it
big,
was the
heavy
dumbbells, and it was like 300
yeah,
pounds. What really got me was the next competition where they had to, lift the dead weight sandbags, and it was just one
yes.
long sandbag, and
Mhm, the
that was
worm.
about what? I think another 300 pounds, and I'm sitting
It
there,
was
and I looked at Raph, and
wild.
I said, I'm like, "It's just dead weight." I was like, "Oh my god." Let's talk about
And then they had to
hardcore.
do the sandbags too. So yeah, they had the dumbbell, then they had the worm, and then they had the sandbags, and they were having to do all of these things. The poor there was one team that had this really she was a buff little girl. Like she was a fit little girl like she got muscle on her, but even by the
Mm.
end, you could just tell she was struggling. And so after she got her last sandbag on the mat and she was going to have to go up and over the log, you could just see she was struggling. And one of her teammates was like, pushed her over. He's like, I got you, just go. And they're like, that's legal. You're allowed to help your teammates
Mm.
over the log. But I was just like, good job. Good job that he didn't leave her stranded. Good battle buddy there. But it was so much fun just to see all of those different aspects. They evidently I was looking at the schedule, they had a massive amount of cake. Anybody who came was gonna get a slice of birthday cake. Like, can you imagine how many bakeries were making those cakes? Like, that's gotta
Oh,
be
I didn't even think about
insane.
that. I would have gone just for the cake. Let me just taste all the different cake you guys have.
I
I love cake.
know.
That is my
Oh, man.
that is my guilty pleasure is cake.
Well, my husband was laughing because he's like, "Of course, do a fitness competition, run a 5K, and here's a piece of cake. That's so army." He's like, "You might throw up afterwards, but, you had cake."
You know, when I was in high school, it was in our JROTC program, and it was an Army program, and we had a Raider Challenge team. I wasn't on it. I didn't want anything to do with it. It was Florida. There was no way I was gonna engage in 50-pound rucksacks, going around the high school track, you know, in teams running, and it was just first aid, survival. It was just like the real like grunt stuff. And I wasn't into it. But, I supported my friends and I would watch them train. And yeah, there was this sense of like pride, and there was always, it's like we were always celebrating Army culture, even in ROTC in high school. And
Yeah.
it seemed like we were always celebrating it through drill team and color guard and Raider Challenge and rifle team. Um, And that's really the only thing I can, because we didn't Raph didn't join the Army, he went Air Force, but, just hearing you account for, like, Army active duty life, uh, I keep going back to my high school days. I'm like, "Oh gosh, that sounds so familiar." I remember that culture, but it was in the arena of your ROTC high school program, but, um, it's just kinda cool how these programs they really do a good job at setting it up for what to expect culturally speaking of that branch if you wanted to join that branch. Um,
Yeah.
and I loved it. I loved the Army culture, um, even though I wanted to join the Air Force. Uh, but I I loved the Army. I've always loved the Army culture. I just didn't feel that calling, when I was
Yeah.
younger. And well, God had other plans anyway. So
Oh, yeah. Your life worked out. It's just the thing is the military is a family, and each
yeah,
branch is like a different sibling, and they all
yeah,
have different
hmm
strengths and weaknesses and
yeah,
personalities, and we razz and harass and
yeah.
tease each other, but don't
Oh,
mess with
the
my
sibling
siblings.
rivalry is definitely there.
Oh, yeah, the sibling rivalry is there, but at the same time, don't mess with my family. Like, it's
Yeah,
there's a
exactly.
family sense to it, and it was really
Yeah.
funny after the parade ended, the first thing I saw pop on my X feed was this meme of a Marine in full dress holding a birthday cake that said "Happy Birthday Army" on it. It says, "Happy birthday from your younger, better looking sibling, the US Marines." And I'm like, of course, because that's how they're gonna have to do it. And then like someone else was
Right.
like, "Hey, so why does the Army get a birthday party, but the Navy doesn't?" Or I'm like, "'Cause we're the better child. Everyone loves us."
Mhm.
And then like the response to the Marines I put was like, "You're right. You are better looking, but we throw better parties."
It's funny you
Anyway.
mention that because I've been wondering, if down the pipeline, if we're gonna get, birthday parties like this for the other branches, but I understand, like, the Army hit that big milestone of 250 years. That's a big milestone. Um,
The Navy
I'm not
hits
quite
it this year too, but I
they hit
think
it
the
okay.
decision that was made was that it would be too much of a tax burden and whatnot to
Okay,
do that. And the Army is really the flagship of the military. We're the heart
that's
and the
true.
origin.
Yeah,
And so it
right.
made sense to uh, do this for the Army. And
Yeah.
plus, also, the Army's the biggest. We're able to
Yeah, it
draw
is.
that kind of a
Yeah,
thing and not damage the mission. They were able, my husband was,
true.
we weren't in DC because my husband was unloading a Connex and doing an after action report because that's the Army.
Oh, don't you just love after action reports? That's fun.
I know. It's so great. So the needs of the army needed to still be met, but we could meet it and still do this celebration. Whereas some of these
Yeah,
smaller ones, like the Marines or the Air
yeah,
Force or the Space Force, it would be difficult for them to do a celebration to the same scale and not impact the needs of and the
yeah,
mission. Which and the mission always comes first. We talk about
yeah,
all these fun
exactly.
celebrations and traditions and things we do, but the mission always comes first. Even though it was the Army's birthday, there
Yeah.
were soldiers like my husband who are unloading Connexes in the
Mhm.
heat because that's the needs of the Army. And, it's
Yep,
okay. We some years we get to party, sometimes we don't, but at least we got to
yeah,
watch the parade on YouTube with our kids. So to the
yeah.
parade, I know what my favorite
Oh,
parts were. What did you think? I want your thoughts.
oh gosh, I loved the historical narrations of, especially, like, the infantry, um, like, the history of our infantrymen, our infantry, like, this is where it kinda gets I'm not a historian, I'm horrible at history, but I didn't realize that, uh I forgot the infantry unit, but it dated back to, like, 1748, and that was
Mhm.
really fascinating, all these fun facts, and I loved how they tasked, certain army units to represent different eras of the
Yeah.
last 250 years, and they would dress in the uniform. I guess they would pick a company or a platoon, and,
Yep.
they would dress in that era of,
The
you
the
know
uniform and the gear. So, what
yeah, the
the thought
uniform, the gear.
process
Yeah,
I saw one of the interviews earlier, and what the thought process the military had was they were gonna pick units that were instrumental in that era of US history
right,
or originated in that era, and they were the
right.
active duty soldiers. That's the cool part. Active duty
Yeah, I
soldiers
know.
who got to pay tribute to their predecessors in their unit
Exactly.
who wore that uniform. And the Revolutionary War ones were awesome. The Civil War ones were great. But I think the
Yes.
one that got me choked up were the Vietnam ones because so
Yeah,
many of those soldiers came home and didn't receive any thanks, any appreciation.
yeah,
And here they were. It was so cool to see how happy and proud those soldiers were to be dressed in that uniform, to pay tribute to those veterans who were never recognized
yeah,
properly. And that just gave me
exactly.
all the feels. I loved that.
Um, the part where I teared up was the, enlistment and reenlistment ceremony where they were taking their oaths to most what a lot of people maybe that are non-military don't understand is usually that oath is taken if you're enlisting for the first time at MEPS, or
Mhm.
it's done if you're reenlisting at the unit or squadron level with
Mhm.
really whoever officer's been tasked to do it, and I how awesome is it that and how rare that you get to take that oath from your commander in chief, and a commander in chief that is so highly respected and loved. And you could feel and hear their enthusiasm and their patriotism as they were taking their oath. And I just sat there and I actually said it with them, like, why not? And I just sat there and kind of cried because it's just like, um, it was just, it's just surreal. It's like a spiritual moment. I can't, unless you've lived this life and you've really embraced and been enculturated, and you and part of your identity is military life, it's hard to understand that emotional connection, um, with seeing these
Yeah.
guys and women just wanting to get out there and whatever career fields are going into, they want to they want to do their parts, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, because
that was the part
this is what
where I cried.
you told me that. My husband, I mentioned because we were watching it a little bit delayed from you, when you messaged me that, and he's like, I hope their drill sergeants are there for the guys that were in basic, and they did. They
And
had the drill sergeants there. He's like,
yeah, I was
okay,
gonna
good.
say I saw the hats. I'm like, I'm pretty sure those are the drill
Yeah,
sergeants because they
because it
usually have a
doesn't count
distinct
unless the drill
uniform.
sergeant is there for them. And so, yeah, the drill sergeants were there. He's like, he thought that was really cool too. And I thought it was really interesting because earlier in the day, they were explaining how you can, as long as you're a legal green card holder who can pass a background check, you can join
Mhm.
the United States
Yep,
military to gain your citizenship.
yep.
And it
We've
is
known
an
people.
expedited process.
Yep. We have known, a few people here and there over the years that have done that and have loved, have embraced American culture, embraced, our country as their country, and served, honorably, bravely, and yeah, worked steadily
It
towards their
does.
citizenship, and yeah, there's so many people that don't know that, and,
I
it's
know.
a little almost like a hidden secret. Like, it isn't a secret. It's just something that doesn't really get out a whole lot.
I think it's amazing because honestly, we've met some very incredible people from all over who
Yeah,
have done that program or are using it to get their education. People
yeah,
don't realize that you can go get your college degree for free
yeah,
in the military. They will
mhm,
pay for that. And so I
yep.
see people getting frustrated. They're like, college should be free or citizenship process should be easier. I'm like, it is. Join the military. Like,
I've always wondered that too. Why not just, yeah, join the military, go through
join
the
the
appropriate
military.
channels to come on over and serve, and what better way to really enculturate yourself into American society and to have an understanding of, our government, our
Mhm.
American government and American ways, and really adapt into that, patriotism, because you're gonna be surrounded by people who are Americans, who are proud to serve, proud of their country, and it can be contagious, and yeah, I've always wondered that too. I've just never really said it out loud.
Well, to me, like, I have ancestors and family between my husband's side and mine who have served in every uniform the US has ever had, from revolutionary to now. If a soldier has worn a uniform, someone in my family has had that uniform. And so
Mhm,
it's even though I wasn't raised as a military brat, I
mhm,
just always had that sense of, you know, this is what can be. And
right.
when I found out about that program by meeting those people, I just felt like that was so wonderful because there are people who genuinely want to come to the US and have a better life. And what a better way for them to do that than to come, be able to get an education, be able to get their
Yep,
citizenship, be able to have an income, have housing, have all these things provided so that they can get a really great, fabulous start in this country. And if they
yep,
serve only one enlistment and it's like 4 years, that's great. They built relationships, they learned about our history, they learned about this country, and they were
yep,
able to gain a really great foundation and a college education. And
yep.
why not? So many people don't take advantage of the college education in the military. And I really that,
I
or the
know.
certificate programs, or all of these different things. And I'm sitting there going, you have so many resources, use them.
Yeah, rap is definitely, well, he has to because of his, career field, but even if they offer certs and just off the cuff other, areas of, like, Microsoft or whatever, if if it's put in front of him, he'll take it. He'll, "Yeah, sure, I'll take that class," "Yeah, and these classes usually are a couple $100, on the
Oh, yeah.
outside, and they're offered, for free, when they come around, 'cause, they usually have to get someone from, like, Microsoft to come at least overseas to come out here and do the
Yeah.
classes, but he's been to a couple of them to be certified in other things, but yeah, you really get an expedited boost in life with, having a colorful resume. You can have the education and the experience on your resume. Um,
Mhm.
and if you only do 4 years or 6 years, like the one enlistment and then get out, at least you got that resume to fall back on, and you've got a heck of a resume because you got both the experience and the degree, and that's really hard to come by because a lot of in the private sector, a lot of these companies want both, but most people
Uh-huh.
at college only have one. They don't have the
Yep.
experience, they have the degree, and they're kinda stuck. But
Yeah.
those who have served and they've worked in that field and they have the certs or even, a degree, it holds more weight,
Yeah.
when you get out, and these are conversations I have with, our son because he's 21 and he's kinda back and forth on, you know, what do I wanna do in life, and so I've been kind of encouraging him, "Look, even if you just do 4 years, your college is paid for, and you at least have 4 years of a solid experience, in
Yeah.
whatever field of work you want experience in, that you wanna work in outside of the military or whatever it is you wanna do as a long-term
Mhm.
career," Yeah,
Yeah. To me, that was such a wonderful thing to put into the parade. That whole
yeah,
enlistment, that whole showing, all of these different backgrounds. Because if you looked at everyone who was swearing in, being sworn in the first time, or re-swearing their oath, they were all different. They're
yeah.
men and women from these different ethnicities and backgrounds. The service members, you could tell by their uniforms, they were all from different types of service. Because everyone thinks if you join the
Mm.
army, you have to be an infantry. There is a million other things to
No.
do in the army than infantry. My husband was never
Yes.
infantry, and he's
Yep,
not a run with a rucksack for 20 miles kind of guy. He's not. He'll do it if he needs to.
yep.
But like there's
Same
so he
here.
does IT, he does aviation.
Yep.
There are things, there's medical. Oh my goodness, to get a
Mhm.
medical degree completely paid for with hands-on experience
Yep.
for free? Heck
Right.
yes. So
You
like
wanna go
there's
pre-med? You wanna be a doctor?
Heck yeah, this is a great way to do it, and, well, even just the bands, because my kids are into instruments,
Oh,
I'm
wow.
like, "If you wanna get really good at an instrument, you could be in the army band.
Yeah, I
You
have a
could
friend
go
that
to West
was in the
Point."
army band. Yep.
I love that they were showing all of these different things. No, you can be a band nerd and be in the army.
Yeah. You can even be the cook, and you get a free culinary degree out of it. They'll send you to the Cordon Bleu University,
Yes.
and you come out of it as a full certified chef. You're not
Yep.
just a cook, where you're just back there preparing MREs or whatever they think. But no, because you're in that field of work, you can go to school and become a certified chef. And then if you wanted to get out, open your own restaurant or make it a goal of being an executive chef somewhere, wherever, then you can do that because you've got the experience and you've got that certification. You went to school, you got that degree. But yeah,
Yeah.
people don't realize the insane amount of career fields that the armed forces has, and you can get certified and degreed in every facet of what the military offers, which is pretty much the equivalent of what the private sector has when you think about it, even down to like, maintenance.
It really doesn't matter what you wanna learn, especially if you wanna become a mechanic. You want to make
Yeah.
some good money, getting some great certs and some skills and stuff becoming a mechanic. I know someone, he was a Chinook mechanic, and then he took a fixed wing mechanic class but as he was transitioning out. And now he's a fixed wing mechanic in Alaska, and he makes pretty good money doing that because aviation is a huge source of transportation in Alaska. So there's a lot of different things, and I love how they were able to pack that all into one parade. It was a really big recruitment ad, but it was also history
I
and it was
know.
fun.
I
But it was
love
like, oh,
the in-between ads, when they were doing
yeah,
the parade. They were basically recruitment ads, and, oh gosh, those are the best ads. I haven't seen ads like that in years where, here I am middle-aged sitting on my couch, and I'm like, "Where do I sign?"
I
You
know.
know? But I can't,
Well,
I'm too old and too
I love
broken.
how but it was just so fun to see the women who were there. Oh my gosh, the
Mhm.
tank drivers, they couldn't have had bigger grins on their faces.
Oh, I
And
know,
then,
they were having fun.
oh, they were. And then at the very end, the thing that my boys totally nerded out were the cyber dogs,
Oh,
the
those
little
were so
robotic.
cool. I saw those and I was like, "Ah, I want one."
I know. I know. I was like, "Okay, those look a little weird." When so my husband was explaining what it was and everything, and then the other game we were playing is that a tank? Because my boys kept like, "If that's a tank," he's like, "No, that's a half track with a mounted blah blah blah." And he was like, "That's a tank." No, that's not it. So my husband was like, saying the whole game we would try to guess which one was a tank and which was not a tank. He's like, "Most of
Oh
those
god.
things aren't tanks, people." Like so many of hey, I'm a military spouse. I'm an army spouse, and I still can't always tell what's a tank and what's not a tank. 'Cause
Right.
we just think most armored vehicles are tank-like. But yeah,
Yeah.
it
I
it was a
loved
fun
the
game.
representation of all the different vehicles of every
Mhm.
era that was used, for, a plethora, whether it was war or not, even if it was just transportation um, or shipment of goods,
Oh, yeah.
uh, and that was fascinating. The first car,
Oh, yeah, the Model T.
and yeah, and it was this little, like, yeah, something from, like, the early 1900s, and I was just like, "Oh, this is so cool," and I wanna ride in that.
Most people don't even know we used that in World War One, but we did. And I love the
Yeah,
cav units because, like, showing
yeah.
the horses. The US
Oh,
military still has cav ceremonial units. And
mm,
yeah, it's been fun to it was my girls love the horses. I love horses too. So that was fun to see the horses. But
yeah,
I thanks for just this has been a really fun conversation. We've gone quite a bit into all of the militariness, but I hope that this gives everyone who's listening a chance to better understand the military culture. We may celebrate differently from branch to branch and have different variations on the same traditions. But part of the thing that we do as the military is we celebrate those who came before us and
oh, yeah,
recognizing the sacrifices of those who have helped make our freedoms possible. And I am
yeah,
so grateful that we had an opportunity to celebrate all of those wonderful veterans, those who've passed away, those who are still living, and recognize everything they've done for our country and how our country has grown and developed, and how we're going to continue doing that into the future because modern warfare is going to change with technology. And
yeah,
that is going to greatly impact how we defend our nation and our freedoms. And so maybe you're not a run with a rucksack 20 miles kind of guy. That doesn't mean there's not a way you can serve. IT is huge, medical is
yeah.
huge. Um, so, yeah, thank you, Erica, for just being a part of this fun conversation. Is there anything you want to leave with everyone as we wrap up?
No, I think you covered it all. Um, it it it's a fun life. It's also, high stress, full of sacrifice, huge sacrifice. There is a lot of tears, but there the rewards are, priceless, and it's a totally different culture, it's a different mindset, it is a calling, um, but it's a blessed life. It can really be a blessed life if you really embrace it, and just know how to roll with the punches. go with the flow, it can really be an amazing experience and an experience of the life of your life.
Yeah. And it builds a sense of community and camaraderie that you don't always find in civilian life. I
Yeah.
sometimes found it hard to find my people. And then we became a military family, and I feel like I got a whole bunch of sisters.
Yeah.
Almost any military spouse out there can be my sister because we just
Yeah.
have a sense of kinship and we get each other on a level that not everyone else understands.
Right. Yep.
And that honestly, that happened with me and you, Erica. Like we met in a chat, on a live chat, and I'm so grateful for everything I've gotten to learn from you and just all the conversations and everything we've had to just interact and stuff on. So thank you for being willing to drop everything and share this experience with me and help me out with this episode. And for everyone who's watching, Erica has a YouTube channel of her own. It's called Erika and Raf, and they do have some stuff. But one thing she does a lot is she also is on different streams. So she's here helping me out on my channel, but she also helps out other people like WDW Pro, That Park Place. Are you on Marvin's often, or I'm not sure?
No, it's like 2 a.m. here when he's on. So the
Okay,
time difference,
but Lorena
wherever I'm
Creole.
invited. Oh yeah, I'm on
Yeah.
Lorena's a lot.
Yeah, Lorena Creole, she's fabulous. She's got military family, so her and I have talked military stuff, Lorena and I a little bit in the chats before. Um, so yeah, you can catch Erica on lots of different YouTube channels, but she also has her own, so go check that one out too. Thank you, Erica, for being my buddy and just having fun with me today. So,
Thanks for having me.
I want to end this episode by giving a shout out to all of you who have supported me through these efforts with the interviews and the episodes and the scheduling and everything, for your input and your comments and your feedback. Thank you for everything you have done to encourage and keep this project going. I want to be able to build a community of military support where we can help uplift and encourage each other. So please like, share, subscribe, comment, click it and stick it to the algorithm so that we can continue to build this community and help each other out. More than anything, let's be the good that we want to see in the world. And as always, I'm your host, Sam Wolf, and you've been listening to Life of a Military Wife.